down. Sometimes you'll find nothing ever comes down, nothing ever comes down. Sometimes you'll find nothing ever comes down, nothing ever comes down. Sometimes you'll find nothing ever comes down, nothing ever comes down. Sometimes you'll find nothing ever comes down, nothing ever comes down. Sometimes you'll find nothing ever comes down, nothing ever comes down. Something wrong creeping into your life.
So that was Come Down by Waves and Cloud Nothing. So just some kind of emotional punk music there. And because this is my first northern guest, and because I'm from the north, I thought I'd play a very northern song now, and also within the punk thing we're going for. And I'm going to play a band called The Fall, one of my favourite bands, and this song's called Industrial Estate. So it's quite an interesting song because it, especially in the 70s and 80s, there were a lot of like new buildings built in Manchester, but they looked sort of futuristic when they were first built, but then they started to look sort of drab and grey. And so, yeah, people used to live on industrial estates. But this is a song that takes the kind of gritty northernness and the kind of the sort of the almost, poverty that a lot of people were living in, and kind of makes a kind of punk song about it, almost a kind of positive thing about living on an industrial estate. So this is The Fall, Industrial Estate.
Get up there in the estate. Get up there in the estate.
Was The Fall, Industrial Estate. And I'll play one more song since it's an excuse to play punk music today. I'm going to play a song which I think is, very, very relevant to today, because we're kind of living in another swing of Tory Britain. And so this song is called Mother by Idols.
My mother worked 15 hours, 5 days a week. My mother worked 16 hours, 6 days a week. My mother worked 17 hours, 7 days a week. The best way to scare a Tory is to read and get rich. The best way to scare a Tory is to read and get rich. Sexual violence doesn't start and end with rape. It starts in our books and behind our school gates. Men are scared, women will laugh in their face, whereas women are scared, it's their lives men will take. Mother, fuck her. Mother, fuck her.
That was Mother by Idols. And, you know, the other songs we'll be playing today will be less punky, but to do with mental health. And so we'll just get started with this interview now with the spoken word poet from York, Henry Raby. Henry, thank you for joining me today.
Okay, thanks for having me.
So tell us your name, your pronouns, and what you do. What are you about?
My name is Henry Raby. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am a performance poet. I also write plays. I do youth theatre workshops with young people and adults as well, writing workshops with adults. And I put on live gigs, performance, poetry gigs, and spoken word events.
Very cool. And so how did you get started doing that then? Tell us your story.
So when I was a kid, my mum was a big fan of theatre, and she used to take me to see local amateur dramatics groups and stuff at York Theatre Royal. And when I was a teenager, I joined York Youth Theatre, and it was a really great experience because you were treated as an artist. You were given responsibility, and you were given space and room and confidence to make work and to devise work and be in plays. And I loved that sense of performing, and I loved being part of the ensemble and being lifted up by other people, and that supportive, expressive space. And I got into performance because when I got older, I knew I didn't really want to be an actor, but I knew that I wanted to perform. And I think that's really important for young people to realize there's so many different ways to express themselves. They don't need to be like an actor is just one part of a huge system of acting and of performance rather. So I was really into punk music, and I was sort of going through all the 70s and 80s artists and exploring, discovering, and going on Wikipedia and being like, right, who else is like, who's also amazing? And that drew me to John Cooper Clarke and his scattergun, speedy, punky, lyrical poetry. And I had seen him before years ago at a GCSE poetry event, but he was a real spark that meant I could combine performing with writing, with theatre skills, with my sort of love for punk. And from there, I just dedicated myself to being a performance poet.
So I think this is a good moment to give us some context and play some John Cooper Clarke, who was a kind of seminal spoken word poet. What was interesting about John Cooper Clarke is that while you had these kind of high energy punk gigs, you had a poet who would come on stage sometimes at these gigs, and his name was John Cooper Clarke. And so he was quite, this is probably the first time you had sort of, energetic punk music with kind of spoken word poetry as well. And I think early on, he used to get sort of bottles thrown at him and things like that. But eventually he became, to be a kind of household name in the punk scene. And this is his hit. It's Chicken Town by John Cooper Clarke.
The bloody cops, the bloody keys, the bloody keep it, bloody clean, the bloody cheese, the bloody swine, the bloody draws, the bloody line, the bloody fun and bloody games, the bloody kids, the bloody blames, and nowhere to be bloody found anywhere in Chicken Town. The bloody train is bloody late, you bloody wait, you bloody wait, you bloody lost and bloody found, stuck in f***ing Chicken Town. The bloody view is bloody vile for bloody miles and bloody miles, the bloody babies bloody cry, bloody flowers bloody die, the bloody food is bloody muck, the bloody drains are bloody The colour scheme is bloody brown. Everywhere in Chicken Town, the bloody pubs are bloody full. Bloody clubs are bloody full of bloody girls and bloody guys with bloody murder in their eyes. Bloody bloke gets bloody stabbed waiting for a bloody kebab. You bloody stay at bloody home. Bloody neighbours bloody moan. Keep the bloody racket down. This is bloody Chicken Town. The bloody train is bloody late. You bloody wait. You bloody wait. You bloody lost and bloody found. Stuck in Chicken Town. The bloody pies are bloody old. The bloody chips are bloody cold. The bloody beer is bloody flat. Bloody flats have bloody rats. The bloody clocks are bloody wrong. The bloody days are bloody long. It bloody gets you bloody down. Evidently Chicken Town.
So that was Chicken Town. Apologies for the pings there. I thought I stopped them, so I'm going to have to work that out.
Could you do something for us now? Maybe.
How to stop those pings. So I'll do that. And anyway, back to the interview.
Do you think there's something to be said that whereas the theatre world has specific, there's a lot of training that's involved, there's a lot of different, and although there's a lot of different methods, there's still a lot of people who subscribe to specific methods, and that perhaps the punk scene or kind of punk performance perhaps is bound by less rules?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'd get huge anxiety auditioning. Like if someone said, "Oh, we want you to be in this play," and there's a lot of structures around that when you're acting, because, yeah, for all sorts of reasons we don't need to go into. But I think performance poetry, if it's a safe, comfortable, well organized space, it's a lot easier on mental health, because it's a welcoming space where you can just be yourself and just show us what you've got. And maybe that's different for different people, and maybe that revealing element is quite difficult for some people to do, and maybe there is something about being able to hide behind a character. But for me, it's a lot more freeing to be like, we're all in a space and we're all just going to get up and do it, and that punky element of just DIY doing it is really appealing to me, and I know a lot of people as well.
Absolutely. And so, and obviously you've curated events, you've been a host for events, and so tell us about hosting within the performance poetry scene, but also this element that it's a supportive scene, and that kind of everyone supports everyone, and kind of building a structure where people feel supportive, and in relation to mental health as well, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a great question. One that I sometimes, when I'm doing podcasts with poets we put on, I ask them, how do you build that safe, creative, inclusive space? And I'm not sure that, well, there definitely certainly isn't an answer, and there isn't even maybe sort of rights or wrongs of doing it. For me, for the people that are performing, it's giving them enough information in advance, so they know exactly what to expect. They know that they can come before doors and perform on the mic if that feels like they get to know the space. They're sort of welcomed when they come in, so that immediately they meet me or Stu, who's the other co-host. So the night we run is called Say Out. So they meet one of us so that they're immediately okay and welcomed. Obviously space is dependent, but we've got a green room so people can just chill out there if they need to. I think it's about valuing them and going, thank you for coming. Like, you are a performer, you are here to do what you do, and giving them that platform, I think, is a really empowering thing. So that's some of the stuff I guess we do in terms of the audience and feeling safe and welcome. Like, I try and make sure it's a really energetic space, and like get the audience to shout out and feel like they're part of one big raucous gang. So that means everyone's supporting the poet. So it's like, welcome to the stage, big shout out, lots of noise to this poet, and they come on and they feel like they're the most important welcomed person in the world. And even though we usually do slams, so they are competitive, they're not competitive in the sense anyone's trying to outdo each other, or there's any hierarchy beyond going, oh, that poem was, I enjoyed that one better, great, there's some points. The points aren't the points, the points are the poetry. So that's some of the ways, I guess. Like, I personally get like loads of admin anxiety around gigs, and I'm always like buzzing, and that's partly a physical thing where like I'm just running with adrenaline. and that doesn't mix well with I'm kind of a glass half empty guy, so I'll always be like, oh, we've not sold enough tickets, or we're not sort of running to time, or should we do the break here and then? And it's really nice that the rest of the Say Out, Stu and Dave and Hannah can just bring me back to earth and go, no, it's amazing, it's a really good night, it's fine, you don't need to maximize all these tiny niggling things you might have, and go, it's okay. And that really helps as well to do it with people that are a lot more calmer than I am.
Brilliant.
Time for another song now, and I'm going to play. Speaking of, Henry sort of talking about, his anxiety for shows and stuff when he's promoting nights, we're going to play a song called XTY by Sneaks, which is about anxiety. Are we being a bit, with our anxiety, are we being a bit cruel on ourselves? So now, here's Cruel by St. Vincent. See what I did there?
Bodies, can't you see forgive the kids, for they don't know how to live. Run the alleys casually. Cruel. Took you and they left you. How could I?
So we've got two of your spoken word poems we're going to play today. One's Life Admin Day, one's The Imposter. Which one shall we play at this point? Pick one and then tell us a little bit about it before we play it, perhaps.
So let's do My Imposter. So the thing about this poem is it's about when. So I'll do these poetry gigs when I'll come across as very confident, and I'll get on the mic and I'll do all my stuff, and then people will meet me, air quotes, in the real world, and they'll go,
right,
Henry, you're nothing like you are on stage, because I'm find it difficult to make eye contact sometimes, and I'm quite weedy and introverted, massive introvert, and My Imposter is about how sometimes you can think that there's a different version of yourself. There's this better version or this perfect version that can do everything, this competent Henry. And the way that sometimes we sort of dissociate and we go, well, I can't do that. I'm not good enough. I'm not great. You must be getting me confused with somebody else. And so that's what My Imposter is about, is this other version of ourselves that we aspire to be, or even blame for things that we can't achieve.
So now we're going to play this poem by Henry Raby called My Imposter.
This poem is called My Imposter. I may not know much about interdimensional travel, but the rift between dimensions must be thinner than a hungry Monday morning, cupboards unstacked and chores unattacked, weak, like lacking the strength to see the appropriate adult side of 10 a.m. The walls between dimensional spaces is fragile like own brand tissues, because I have seen my imposter. A proper doppelganger from another world has made his way to York. I've seen him in Parliament Street, in Foxwood, along Lord Mayor's Walk. Doesn't even have the gall to grow a whip-thin moustache, wear a top hat and tie damsels to train tracks. My imposter is trying to infiltrate my life one event at a time, pleased to play the part of the invited guest. Friends can't tell the difference. He's made of other atoms. We're a pair of band t-shirt wearing mirrored patterns. I first suspected his infiltration at a celebration, a party with an atmosphere humming Sunday summer warmth and stretching smiles along a riverbank. Got a barbecue. Made people laugh, got the beers out, held eye contact. Instantly, the sort of fellow you'd love to befriend, and eventually left, but only when the party came to its natural end. He must come from a much more confident dimension, where casualness comes quicker than claustrophobia. Since then, I have seen my imposter at parties, social gatherings, events, and the theatre. It was actually him at that gig, rehearsal and poetry recital. I've seen my imposter down the pub, get the round in, get you a double, pay for the taxi and do everything perfectly. I've seen my imposter raise toasts and dare to claim boasts, load up cupboards with food, arrive on time and smile at your jokes. I've seen my imposter pay the bills and do the taxes and do the gardening and reply to emails and catch up with my grandparents. And I'd like to tell you, honestly, that's not me. That's my evil twin who's got into this world and can't get out. I like to tell you, honestly, it's not me. That's my evil fraud full of phony unhenriness you keep seeing around. I like to tell you, but I'm afraid if my cruel suspicions were known, he'd flee. And I'd feel sorry for him, because he can't get back home.
So that was My Imposter by Henry Raby. A really good poem, and we'll go back to the interview. But before that, we'll play... I'd like to play Weight of the Planets by Aldous Harding, which I think is kind of a... Well, I mean, yeah, make your mind up. I mean, I relate this song to mental health. Weight of the Planets.
Glad I put
sucking you out. Your stone looks hot as it starts to roll. We shared a meal and then you had to go. I've been over that night in my head, and you were psyching me out. I can't do anything. No one needs stopping me. I can't be anything, but I've got the weight of the planets. I've got the weight of the planets. I'm lost. I'm so tempted, I just might try and look for you if I know that you've arrived. In your eyes I see the weight of the planets you lost, and it's sucking you out. Weight of the planets lost, it's sucking you out. Weight of the planet, it's sucking you out. Weight of the planet lost, it's sucking you out. Weight of the planet lost, it's sucking you out. Weight of the planet lost, weight of the planet, weight of the planet lost.
Brilliant. So we'll play that now. And so, wanted to I asked you a few things you might want to talk about, and one of them was, to talk about poetry and one's career expectations, the pressures that we put on ourselves, being our own worst enemy, and having daft standards set by insecurities.
Yeah, so I guess going back to the old Raby timeline, when I left university and I in 2010, and I wanted to sort of explore this performance poetry route a lot more, I was constantly plagued by these doubts and insecurities because I was comparing myself to other poets, and that's not no ill will to any of these other poets. They're just doing their lives and doing their careers. But I was what I call the land of should, which is a little phrase. I don't know if I read it somewhere or I came up with it. I'm not sure. But for me, living in the land of should means that you sort of live your life by this idea that you should be doing better. I should be writing this sort of stuff. I should be getting these festival gigs. I should be getting paid more. I should be getting more attention. I should be getting more reviews. And that's putting yourself all in this pressure because you're inventing a scenario. You're creating the staples. Yes, there is some career routes, and yes, you can go. There are ways in which you can achieve aims and goals and have expectations and ambitions to perform in these spaces, or to be approached by these, artists, or to write this sort of poetry. But to think that there is a very clear should be doing this, and this barrage of expectations that you create for yourself is wholly unhealthy. I used to think that it was a really positive thing, because I was like, well, it's gonna make me strive for it. It's I'm using the carrot, I'm using the stick on myself rather than using the carrot, right? If I beat myself up and talk down and go, you should be better at this, then I will achieve it, which is a nonsense. You need that fuel to do more, and you need that inspiration, but that's not going to come from being negative about yourself. So that's something that I sort of try and tell any younger poets, and still myself. Like lockdown especially, I think, at the beginning of lockdown, people went, King Lear was written by Shakespeare in a pandemic, and it's like, well, maybe that's true, but let's not put ourselves into these weird expectations. And generally at the beginning of lockdown, not in a very intense way, but I was like, oh, well, this will be a chance to do a load of writing and reading and create that stuff and write that play. And
then
I think
put
actually
that pressure on yourself to do that, don't you?
Yeah, I think so, because you're inventing this scenario that it makes it doable. And let's be right, you can manage your time and you can manage your resources and you can make that happen. But at the same time, you can't hate yourself or set these weird goals. And I think especially there are people that have, personally for me, I've not done very much. I've not been invited or commissioned to do very much work over lockdown. I've made things myself, and I've sort of steered my little ship. There are people that I see online on Twitter, my friends, my colleagues, people I really respect that have got work and commissions. And I talk to people, and some are like, yeah, I've been quite busy, to be honest. And absolutely fair play to them, lots of respect. But that shouldn't mean that I go back and I go, well, so-and-so said that they'd got a commission, or they got a gig, or they were working with this organization. I'm not, because what does that help? It doesn't help your relationship with them or the organization or the arts world or your relationship with your own art. You find
absolutely
the tone and the tune that you need to set for yourself.
Absolutely.
So before we go on, I'm going to play Born Under Punches by Talking Heads.
watching it. No thanks. I'm a government man.
And then we'll sort of end it there and play another one of your fantastic poems. And the question I wanted to ask you was, so I think that, like you mentioned, John Cooper Clarke being an influence, who I'd have probably already played that on the show by now, one of his poems. But you've got John Cooper Clarke, you've got that punk scene from the 80s, and a lot of these traditions, I guess, they come from the 80s. And I think that in the 80s and 70s, a lot of people who were very political and sort of leftist, they thought that they were really going to change things, and I guess they thought that what they were doing was actually going to have a really big impact. And I mean, there's definitely still things that have impact today. Black Lives Matter has impact. A lot of different types of activism have impact. But for a lot of people, it does seem like that capitalism will be kind of the be all and end all. A lot of people do think things are just getting worse, or we're just going towards the end times. And so I think there's a difference there with the 80s. And I mean, what does that have, for mental health? Like being someone who's making this very political, great sort of spoken word and thinking, well, is it going to make a difference?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. And I think we do live in very dangerous times, and I think we should never let our guard down. And I think that it's quite easy to go, it's hard to deal with, so it affects my mental health, and we need to look after each other. We need to care for each other, to fortify ourselves, to go out and maybe not even change the world, just protect and defend ourselves and our communities and us as individuals and us as a society. it's a song by Frank Turner, who he's 1933, and he sings, "I don't want to spend the next 4 years in a safe space," as in he wants to go out and change the world. He doesn't want this safe space. Now, I think that's a really clumsy misunderstanding of what a safe space is. A safe space is a place to fortify and protect and to arm yourself and to feel comfortable, so that you can, when you go out into the unsafe space, into the world at large, that you are prepared for the dangers and anxieties out there of disaster, capitalism, and class war. And,
Absolutely. It's like I just have an hour where I can breathe and don't feel anxious. Thanks.
Yeah. And I think, like, in terms of like that music and art, there's always like still more stuff to say. For me, one of my favorite bands are Onsind, and like you can go back to so many songs of the Clash in the past and the Sex Pistols, who are raging and angry about careers and jobs in a system, and you can go to Riot Girl music in the 90s to find this like really powerful music of female solidarity and community. But Onsind was the first band for me that I heard people talking about mental health on stage and in music.
Right.
Onsind are a duo, and Nathan and Daniel would just do a gig where they'd go, "I'm just not feeling great today, to be honest," and they'd just say that on stage. And I've taken that into when I do poetry, is like I'm just a little bit more transparent about going, I'm not been having this great day all the week.
So Henry mentioned this band called Onsind, sort of band that talks about mental health in their music, and he recommended a song that we play, and this song is about being on medication, and it's called Dissatisfactions by this folk punk band Onsind.
Something wrong with me. I don't think I'll ever be okay. I'll just take it day by day by day by day. There's something wrong with me. I don't think I'll ever be okay. I'll just take it day by day by day by day. 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 Day by day.
You know, best of luck. Thanks for everything. As my dear departed friend Lotus Weinstock used to say, I used to want to change the world. Now I just want to leave the room with a little dignity. Excuse me while I crawl out of here.
They put that in their music, and you can look back at punk music and go, yeah, there's loads of times that mental health and depression, anxiety pop up, but I do think that we've got so much more language when talking about that. So in terms of change, I do think like there's still different themes and ideas do come up in the music and the art we're making, and I think in the poetry scene as well, that we still have this change, the cogs and the wheels turn, so it moves to different topics and themes, and that art inspires us. It gives us practice to go out and change and do things in the world. But then obviously we still need to be sort of realistic of what can be achieved, and again, not to beat ourselves up if we go, well, I've not volunteered at the food bank this week, or I've not gone to that anti-racist rally, or I've not challenged my transphobic dad. Like, I think we be kind to ourselves. It's finding the balance. Be kind to yourselves. You can't change the world, but you can make actions which do affect the world, and it is hard, and I don't know those answers. Some days I go, I'm not doing enough, and some days I go, mate, like, be kind to yourself, and we've all got to find those individual balances, and not to blame other people and to hate each other for going, come on, mate, you need to be doing more. Because, like, I think that's something, certainly two examples of the past 30, 40 years. One, the miners' strike is the shocking example where everyone goes, God, we absolutely lost that battle. And people at the time go, we could have done more. And then in 2003, the sort of, when I was a teenager, this anti-war rallies and marches, which did absolutely nothing, and really, I think, depoliticized a lot of people because they just saw it was so ineffective. And we've just got to go, if we weren't fighting and doing what we're doing and still resisting, how much more could they get away with? That's what I always think. Like, God, we like,
absolutely,
like, the world is a horrible, fucked up place. But how much more fucked up could it be if we weren't still doing something? So you've got to count those defeats, but you've got to count the victories, and you've got to respect that we're still doing what we're doing.
Exactly.
So now I'm going to play Mirror in the Bathroom by The Beats, which is a punk song from the 80s. Well, it's two-tone, so it's like two-tone ska, and it's about mental health.
Yourself while you are eating. take you to a restaurant that's got glass tables. You can watch yourself while you are eating. Mirror in the bathroom. Mirror in the bathroom. Mirror in the bathroom. Mirror in the bathroom. Mirror in the bathroom.
I mean, people talk about echo chambers, but personally, even for me and some of my family, as black people, going to these marches and seeing thousands of people there is just going to have a really big impact on, certain minorities' lives. Like, just a reminder, there are loads of people, who think this is wrong. And
I think that, like, just on that, like, I think there's so many times when I think we get disillusioned with a march or rally because we just go, what has this achieved? We gathered X amount of people, whether it's 10 people or 10,000 people in a square. We marched A to B and we went home. Like, what did that do? I actually think the most important thing that does is, like, the people that you're protesting against do not care. Like, in 2010, David Cameron didn't look outside his window and go, oh, it's a load of students against fees. Well, I better, not cut the fees. Like, it didn't matter. It's about, and I actually also think sometimes there can be people are turned off from the cause if you're sort of middling and centrist and sort of you're not particularly engaged with it. I don't think a load of people chanting in the street with placards are going to make you go, oh, I'm going to jump on this cause. But I think the people it does help is the people on it who care about it, that it inspires you to go and go, I march with thousands of other people for the NHS. I will go and continue that fight in my day-to-day life. And music and art has the same effect. People listening to that little poem, that song by Onsind or The Jam or The Clash or Dave or Carla or any number of amazing musicians makes you go, right, that's these micro inspirations to make us go out and keep fighting or at least keep resisting.
Yeah, I mean, micro inspirations, but, people talk about certain songs, literally saving their life at certain points. And I was going to ask you, what does well-being mean to you? But I think you've already answered it. So what I would like to ask you is, if anyone listening, it's like, oh, well, I'd be quite interested in doing spoken word poetry, or I'd be quite interested in performance poetry, but, maybe hasn't ever been to a gig or hasn't even considered it, why would you recommend them sort of look, or how to start or to get into it?
Yeah, I think there's a load of, every city, I mean, at the moment, obviously, a lot of things are online. I think every town and city has their own event. Sometimes we're quite bad at advertising because as poets are in our little heads and we're little introverted people, so sometimes we're not great at advertising. There are Facebook groups. So, for example, I set up and do the admin for an event, a group called Yorkshire Spoken Word / Poetry Events. Quite a long, clunky title. So you can find that. There's Northern Poetry Scene is another Facebook group. So I guess if you use that social media, you can find these groups. Check out Apples and Snakes, who are pretty much the only nationwide organisation supporting poetry and art across the UK. They'll usually have sort of listings or share events or put their own ones on. There's a website called Write Out Loud, as in writing out loud, and that has a calendar. I don't know how in date it is because I've not used it for a while, but people still post up their events and stuff. I guess also if you find a poet that you like, if you've been following the works of someone like Harry Baker or Mark Grist or Vanessa Kasule, if you find someone on YouTube that you enjoy, as long as they're not some big high celebrity blue tick person, they're probably just running their own Twitter account. And if you drop them a message or a tweet, they might go, oh yeah, I'm performing at this place, or oh, if you live there, well, I gigged there last year and there's a really good night that I went to, that sort of thing. So that going to the source is quite handy. And then I guess the last thing is looking at venues. You'd be surprised if you dig around. So we use venues like the Fulford Arms or the Crescent or the Basement for all gigs. We sort of use a big sweep. And again, if you go to venues and just say, do you have any poetry nights on? They might go, oh yeah, like so-and-so put one on the other month, or yeah, there's this one, or we used to do, but it moved here. So you might need to do a little bit of digging. It's not like the football listings where you know exactly what matches where,
Sure.
but it pays off because I do think that it's a really empowering scene and night, and even just to go and listen to, we are storytelling apes, right? Humans have managed to take over this whole world as we have because we tell stories and we work as tribes and communities. And to go to a space where someone goes, I'm going to share something of myself, I'm going to give you something, is such a emphatic thing that we need in this day and age to unpack a lot of our prejudices, but also to support our mental health, to go that we are not alone, that person also shares those anxieties and fears, and yeah, getting rid of fear by sharing is vital.
Henry Raby, thank you so much. This has been great. We're going to play Life Admin Day now, but it's been wonderful having you on the show.
No, thank you for having me. Cheers, Jim.
All right, cheers. Thank you.
So now we're gonna play Henry's other poem. Well, he's got lots of poems. These are just two of his poems. This one's called Life Admin Day, and then after that, I'm gonna end with a song by Russian Girls.
This poem is about when you wake up and you go, today I'm going to sort everything out, right? I'm going to sort the house out, I'm going to sort the flat out, I'm going to sort the garden out, I'm going to sort my room out, I'm going to sort my life out, I'm going to sort my career out. And then suddenly it's midnight and you're on YouTube and you go, oh, that's done. It's called Life Admin Day. I rub my eyes, squint in the sunshine beam, inspect the list on my computer screen, the to-do list like a KO fist, total tome of expectation, great long charter of today's tasks with no mercy for patience. All the jobs I left too late, all the chores now need facing. So today, my adult self, I shall be embracing. There's no other way. Today is Life Admin Day. But then I procrastinate. Well, I got time to waste pretending it's self-care to scroll through tweets. These podcasts are my saviour, though I am cocooned within my bedsheets. Don't iron adult points by taking a shower, steam my head on guilt-fueled power, totaling 1 email sent per hour. Maybe I'll just have a little cower. Contemplating my life choices, I'm sure I had to send some more invoices. How can I concentrate with all these mid-morning noises? Summon bitter, mocking, disparaging barrage of voices. No. Begone such self-deprecating thoughts. This is my sort stuff out mission. Turn on the tea-fueled ignition. Henry, get out the fetal position. Midday meets me like a boxer in a bout. Humanity hisses that I'm letting the species down. My mirror self moans, sort your shit out. I'll alphabetize my DVDs, go plant some more trees, go cure some vile disease, or go kick back the rising seas, anything to avoid cleaning my car. Life Admin Day in my admin fort, unsheath my sword, keyboard warlord, open thy government gateway, click. I forgot my password. Oh, Life Admin Day in my admin nest. When there's a little untidy become a toxic mess. I'll just pay my bills until there's nothing left. Proof capitalism is labour theft. According to a meme I made on the internet. Friends, come rap upon my door. Come Henry, don't be a bore. Bring yourself out to play. Chums, there'll be no fun today, for it's Life Admin Day. We rush down the stairs, rub our eyes carefully, see the tree decorated with stationery, smile gleefully. Happy Life Admin Day! Has Father Life Admin Day been? Yes, son, and he's left some plates for you to clean. Scribe my commandments like a millennial Moses. Get to the post office before it closes. Clean the stain before my housemate notices. Rain on laundry day, is it? Food in the cupboard needs rearranging, food in the fridge needs taming. You know your hummus has been there a while when it gains sentience and starts debating. A task akin to hunting the Holy Grail, replying to all my unread emails. Well, as per my original correspondence. Well, if you can see from my previous message, well, if you actually open the attachment, you'll find your answers to your who, what, why, and when, and so back and forth emailing until one of us dies. My empty, earthy, brown, stained cups of tea are haunting me. I'll stop working, get out of my pyjamas eventually. Letters to be posted, library books to be returned, passwords to be changed, passport to be applied for, CV to be updated, job application to be sent, spreadsheets to be sorted, and money to be set aside for rent, meters to be read, weeds to be wrenched, and radiators to be bled. All tasks for another Henry, with healthier thoughts inside his head. The day has ended. Return to sheets. Do not detail this day as defeat. Admit to yourself this list is never complete. The only solution I can sleepy-eyed see is to add to my list, live guilt-free. But pulling back the covers is still a victory. These tasks do not define me. These mirrors are against me. And my life admin day has so far lasted 32 years. Life Admin Day, Life Admin Day, praise be to thee, Life Admin Day.
Okay, that was great. And now that's us done. Just going to leave you with a song and then goodbye. And it's Autopilot by Russian Girls.
Whether you make a good